How's it going, guys? And today I'm going to be showing y'all how to install or hook up a subwoofer right there. We got my Rockerville sub hooked up in my dad's Grand Caravan. I'm going to show y'all how to hook a stock stereo to a subwoofer. So I installed this the other day, but I tried installing the stereo and it's a little confusing with these because it has its own amplifier. And so until I get that all figured out, I decided might as well just hook up the stock stereo to the sub. So I picked up one of these from Advanced Auto Parts. It was like 26 bucks. So a little expensive, but not too bad. And I've never done this and I've never seen anybody do it, but I know you can do it. I'm gonna get started pulling this apart. All you gotta do is there's 2 screws down here. This one has 2 screws up there. I don't know if that's stock, but then the faceplate comes off. And so this is for any vehicle, not just this certain vehicle, any vehicle. You'll just want to access your stereo first. So I'm going to do that and I'll get back with y'all. And now we got the stereo. That literally took me a minute, maybe a minute and a half. And the stereo can pull out. I'm going to disconnect some of these connections. And so I can see these 2 connections right there. Those are the 2 that I want to access. So I'm going to remove this cable, that cable, and that one, and the antenna cable. And then I'll have access to it, and you can see there's the RCA and the turn-on wire right there that I had left in there whenever I installed the sub. And just like that, I got all the connections disconnected. So there's the antenna cable. This is a ground cable. We got the 2 main connections right here, and this thing, I do not know what it is, or this thing, which is why I was having trouble installing an aftermarket stereo. If any of you guys know anything about installing aftermarket stereos in I think it's like a 98 Grand Caravan, let me know please, because I'm really having trouble with this thing. I've installed a decent amount of stereos. I've installed stereos in a decent amount of vehicles and quite a bit of different kinds of vehicles, and I've never had this much trouble. So I got my first 2 wires hooked up. We got the positive and the left front negative, I think. And what I'm doing to find out right now is I have the adapter right here. You guys probably won't have the adapter, so you'll have to look up a wiring diagram, but on the adapter it told me this yellow one right here was the, right there it says 12 volt to battery, whatever. And I just line up the connection with the connector on there that it goes to, and it ended up being that pink one on the top, and then the left front negative ended up being this bottom one. And so now what I'm going to do is going to find out the same thing. I think that's all on this side, and so I just got to figure out which one you read. And like this right here, this gray one is the front positive, and it says the right front positive is this gray one. So I'll just hold that up to the connection and I'll count which one it is and then splice into it and then wire up the connection that equals it, pretty much the same thing up to it. So now I got all the speaker wires hooked up and the 12 volt positive hooked up, and I'm going to be hooking up the blue wire, which is the remote turn on, to the blue wire that runs to the amp. Plug in my RCAs into the connection, and then I'm just going to be putting a female end on this, and I'm going to be bolting that in along with the ground for the stereo, and then that should be finished and we'll test out the sub. Alright, so I got it all hooked up and working. I ended up accidentally shorting out the power on the ground wire whenever I was cutting one of the cables with the power cable with the razor blade. I ended up accidentally touching the razor blade on the ground and it sparked. I didn't think much of it, but whenever I hooked it up, it ended up shorting out, and so I had to replace that 10 amp fuse right there, which was the memory IOD fuse, and I replaced it and it came right on. And so on the sub it's not showing any lights, but then once we turn the power on the sub, it should work. I haven't tested it yet. Yep, there we go, we got the green light on, so now it's time to test it out.